spread the news so that you don't have to. Imagine becoming your country's first prime minister only to be kidnapped, tortured, and executed with the backing of a European government. Now imagine, over 60 years later, a 93-year-old aristocrat is finally going on trial for it. So the headline says, Belgian aristocrat to face charges over murder of Congo's first premier. And you may have heard of him, but if you haven't, let me introduce you to Patrice Lumumba. He was the first democratically elected prime minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's 1960, Congo's just gained independence from Belgium after 75 years of brutal colonial rule. And when I say brutal, I mean forced labor, mutilation, millions dead. Lumumba wasn't playing the game. He wanted real independence, politically and economically. Here's the problem. This is in the middle of a Cold War, and Congo, it is rich in uranium, cobalt, copper, basically the cheat code for global power. And then what happens next feels less like politics, although that's questionable, and more like The Wire meets geopolitics. So a region called Katanga, backed by a Belgian business interest, breaks away. Western powers start seeing Lumumba as too close to the Soviets. He's overthrown, arrested, and then murdered in 1961. Also, here's the key bit. A Belgian parliamentary investigation in 2001 already admitted that Belgium was morally responsible. But now, for the first time, an individual might be held criminally accountable. Count Etienne d'Avignon, a former diplomat, later a top European commissioner, is accused of involvement in war crimes linked to Lumumba's death. At the time, he was literally working in African affairs connected to the system. And let's be real, this case isn't just about one man, even though he is really and was really important. It's about how history gets accounted for. For decades, colonial violence has basically had no consequences, and this trial could set a precedent that colonial-era crimes can still be prosecuted. Political assassinations aren't just history, they're legal liability, and let Western governments might finally face some real scrutiny. And the sad thing is that Lumumba's death didn't just remove a leader, it changed Congo's future. It opened the door for these decades of instability, dictatorship, and foreign influence. So when we talk about global inequality today, this is part of that story, that origin story. And so this case is really important. Obviously, this individual wasn't solely responsible for this, but it can show you that maybe sometimes history and historical wrongs aren't just in the past, maybe they're just waiting for the courts to catch up.